Ganfal really reminded me of Gandalf in this chapter when he got angry and he was like, "This is a world of humans. There is no such thing as God. You shall not pass!"
One Piece, chapter 274, Oratorio. Oreos?
Should have wrapped my head around all this over here. I guess those are the drawbacks to reading and then immediately hitting the record button. Man. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome, the tantalizing, the kind of sadistic tale of One Piece, at least in this chapter, sadistic anyway. Our last chapter, of course, saw us with really everything kind of ending with there actually being 6 left. There being Zoro, Robin, Nami, Ganfal, Wiper, and Enel. Nami was hidden, though, and thought she was safe. Enel obviously could sense that she was there and was like, hey, somebody's got to go. And at the end, Robin, Ganfal, Zoro, and Wiper all kind of pointed at him, and they're like, you need to disappear, right? So that's how the chapter left off. And the chapter actually goes and kind of picks up in this a little bit of a flashback, and it shows a couple pages of Ganfal just kind of being like, man, are we really the evil ones? And you can only assume that this is after he had his one of his meetings, maybe to try to have a peaceful resolution with the Shandians with Wiper, one of his unsuccessful meetings. And he's just like, God, this was their land, and we've lived off it and thrived off it now for 400 years because our ancestors took it from them. But so it's very much like a plight of the American Indians, or really, I mean, you can go with many other wars and revolutionary type wars all around the world where this was conquered or that was conquered, and then how it was gotten back, or if the people are still under the rule of this other country. So there's a lot of things that can kind of you can kind of harken back to real life in our world that we live in. So definitely very cool, very touching, and it doesn't really change my opinion of Wiper, because as I said in the last chapter, Wiper very much it's the attitude that he adopts, and he may tell himself that he's just doing this to be a patriot for his people, but it really is more just because he is controlled by rage, controlled by hatred, and he won't let anything else in, or anyone else in for that matter, because all he has is the singular focus. But unfortunately, sometimes we can do the wrong things for the right reasons, and vice versa. So that's my opinion on him, but it was nice to kind of see that, and to see Ganfal be like, God, this is, and then they're kind of talking amongst themselves with some of his people, and he was just like, yeah, I don't know if it's too late, it's been too long, the wounds are too deep type of thing. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, there's forces attacking us, and we can assume that's when Enel and his priests came and started to take things over. So then it goes and it flashes back to Angel Island, and it actually shows a brief encounter with a couple of kids, and they're talking about how, oh yeah, and basically they're talking about how Conis and her father have now been labeled as like these traitors because they help the evil Blue Sea people. They've gone against the god, and these kids, just like a lot of the adults, they're brainwashed. A lot of them are scared, a lot of them are brainwashed, and he's like, oh yeah, and my dad, I've never even met him, but he works for the god, and blah blah, and this and that. And we can only assume that it was the father that got fried that said he had a wife and kid on Angel Island. If not, maybe it's one of the many other ones, because we find out later in the chapter that there was like 650 followers that Enel was using to, obviously, in his servitude, to build this arc, Maxim, which I'd like to find out more about as well. So we get that, that kind of encounter over there, and then it goes and it takes us to, Enel and everybody just kind of pointing at him saying, you should disappear. And he's like, no, I don't think so. That's not how it works, And then he goes, I am the god, and this and that. And then he kind of starts to reveal what some of his true plan is. He's like, humans belong, where humans belong, down there. This is unnatural for us to be up in the sky, right? But gods, like myself, belong in a godly place, So then he talks about this place that he's going to go to, and he's basically, what he's going to do is he's going to return all the humans back to Earth, so he's going to crash Skypiea. So he says that, but not in so many words. And what he's going to do, him and whoever his chosen ones or whatever, are going to go to this Endless Varse, or Varse, or whatever you want to call it. But this place where there's, endless land and blah, 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 and I'm trying to think in my mind, like, where is this guy going to, like, another realm, another dimension, another planet? I mean, there's the Blue Sea down below and the islands and whatnot. Maybe he knows of something that I'm unaware of. But that's what the bottom line is that, and it starts to enrage Ganfal, because Ganfal's like, you son of a bitch, he's like, the god is only a title for the, like the steward or the governor of the country, this and then he's like, yeah, up until now, because I am a god. That's what he's thinking. And Ganfal's like, God, are you just pure evil, you know? And what of my followers, or maybe Enel just offers it up, but at some point he talks about how these 650 followers wound up staying with him. They go to another flashback, and they actually show Ganfal going in. Of course, he's been defeated, and this is when the priests had taken over with Enel 6 years ago, and they're like, what should we do with this former, you know, god, the former Kami, whatever you want to call him? And they say, you know, oh no, he says, just throw him into the sea, and he's not going to be any good for us. Throw him into the White Sea, and they just toss Ganfal away, you know, and obviously he did wind up surviving, but that was kind of the point of showing what happened, and then him putting those people in is like, hey, people are going to work for me, and Ganfal, as he was like, he's like, no, they can't, they're my followers, and then El's like, no, there's a new sheriff in town, boy, they're my followers now. So we wind up finding out that there's 650 of them, and Enel's like, oh, don't, and Ganfal's getting pissed, right? And he slaughtered them, you know, and he's like, oh, don't worry, I didn't like willfully slaughter them or anything like that. When I told them what I was going to do, they all tried to actually fight me. So, you know, and so he's basically saying in not so many words, like, hey, listen, I didn't initiate it. I just told them what I was going to do, and that they were going to their certain death anyway, and going to crash back. So they, you know, they fought back against me, and, you know, I'm a god, I can't be beat, so I had to kill them. And that's kind of what we get from that. So whether they were killed or whether they were just knocked out, so then they can be killed when they're driven into the, you know, down into the blue sea. I don't know, but it's definitely very disturbing. So then Ganfal goes and he just kind of comes at him and goes to try, you know, and just tries. It's a very futile attempt. He's trying to run him through with his spear. And as we've seen already from when Kamakiri several chapters ago was trying to attack Enel, Enel is pretty much all but invincible, at least as far as I can figure at this point. I know that like anything, you have to figure out how to be able to beat him. The only thing I can think of is if you somehow can negate his devil fruit powers by having some of those sea prisms, or getting him to actually fight in the sea or near the sea, throwing him in the sea, somehow tricking him. You know, other than that, maybe something with Luffy if he eventually comes out of the snake, because of the fact that he's rubber, and you know the rubber can you know can basically soak up. It's a shock absorber for electricity. You know, I don't know though. I'm not man. I don't know how this guy's going to be beaten, but he winds up going and doing a 20 million volt, you know, hitting him with the bad juju. And I mean, just shocks Ganfal right out of his frickin' shoes, man. And Ganfal's like, oh, I failed. And he looks like a skeleton, you know, as he does. It's like all his skin is like dried up and his eyes are bulging out of his head because he's just been shocked by 20 million volts. So Ganfal goes down like a sack of potatoes. Now, you know, Enel's happy and he's dancing around like a giddy little schoolgirl. And he's like, oh, see, my prophecy was true. There was 5, blah, blah, blah. So then he goes on to go and say, now that there's 5 of us left and the game is over that I decided to play, you're all going to come with me to my Endless Varse or whatever, because you're the ones that are worthy of it. There was other ones that were in the game and this and that, but you were the ones that came out on top after this 3-hour game that I had, so you're going to come with me. You're like the chosen ones, right? Like, I'm Noah and this is the Ark and I'm bringing you. I'm bringing 2 of Robin's titties and 2 of Nami's titties and maybe 2 of Zoro's swords, and anyway, so 2 of Wiper's attitudes. But my point is that they're all not very happy with that, and obviously that's not the deal. So Robin goes and tries to pull a little. She's sharp, right? So she tries to kind of go and mindfuck Enel, and she's like, yeah, but if you leave, like, first of all, what if we refuse? And he's like, well, yeah, you could, but then you'd just die anyway. And she's like, you know, as you crash down into the, you know, the blue sea. And she's just like, well, that may be true, but don't you still want to stick around, you know, to find out where that golden bell is? And he's like, oh, the golden bell. You know, he's like, I already have an idea of where it is. And I'm sure you're thinking of the same place too. And then he goes and he kind of just, and it just happens very quickly. And all of a sudden at the end of the chapter, he kind of goes from like being just this sort of goofy, giddy type guy of like, hey, we're all, you know, going to chill and go to the Endless Varse, to, and you know what? You knew that the whole time and you tried to go and play with my mind. I know where you're going with that. You're very smart and I don't really like conniving women. And I'm like, oh boy, right? And he charges up and at the end of the chapter just, you know, and you see Robin just get blown out of her shoes, it looks like, man. I mean, not good at all. And I'm really just starting to like Robin over there. I'm assuming that, you know, that she's obviously not going to die because she is a mainstay as one of the Straw Hats. But certainly don't like to see, you know, her or my girl Nami getting the shit shocked out of him. But that's how the chapter ends, though, you know. So there was a lot of kind of big revelations, I think, in this chapter, and I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on it, brothers and sisters. You know, you can leave just whatever general thoughts in the comments down below. We usually get some good discussion going. My chapter question, though, is going to be, you know, what are your thoughts on Enel and his whole this endless Vearth, or endless Vearth, and endless Vearth. That he's supposedly going to go to. Obviously, he's got this arc maxim that's going to, you know, I'm assuming it's a flying arc. It's going to fly him somewhere. Or maybe he knows of somewhere down in the blue sea, you know what I mean? Maybe that's where it kind of goes to the all blue or something like that nobody really knows where it is. It's rumored to be the thing that Sanji's looking for. I'm not really sure. But like I said, I just know that the shit has hit the fan, and I really can't wait for Luffy to come bursting out the ass of that snake, because I'm assuming that's what's going to happen at some point, and hopefully seeing him go, you know, go toe-to-toe with Enel here before before things happen. So, and the other thing, too, is I really liked how Enel was like, I already have an idea of where it is. Now, I'm trying to think, and I can't think of any places, but it's probably going to be something really obvious, but I can't think of where this golden bell would have been hidden. So, certainly, if anybody wants to go and shed light on that in the comments, feel free to do so as well. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button, if you should think that I deserve it. It always helps out. And then certainly subscribe if you have not done so already. We will look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
Did anyone else notice that she took her glasses off so we could see her eyes? If you like breasts and eyes, go over and check out my Facebook and Instagram page for more of both.